We are now live.
We are now live.
Instagram, hello.
Hello, everyone.
Back for another EWC Horological Happy Hour. Thank you for joining us as always. This week, we came to you guys and we asked you what you wanted to talk about, and you guys really delivered. So we're going to go with a little bit of a Q&A kind of style format here. We have a lot of questions that you guys, dropped into our direct messages and everything. And if you have any others, please be sure to drop them into the comments, the chat. We'll try and grab as many as we can and make sure that we answer stuff. But
a lot of great things, too. A lot of exciting things to talk about. If we get the table cam here, we have amassed a phenomenal collection of watches. Ready to go. Ready to talk about, covering a lot of things. Do we have the other view? Oh, and we've already got questions coming into the chat. Nice. There we go. We've got everything. We've got independence, we've got traditional, we've got classic, we've got modern, we've got sport, we've got dress.
Yeah, lots of really, really good stuff. Tons of variety. We got some stuff that's not even on the site yet that we're kind of excited to share with you guys.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of really good stuff. Like we said, keep on throwing questions in the chat. We're just going to kind of try and roll through stuff and, as usual, free form, talk about whatever we can, whatever you guys want to talk about, whatever we feel like tangenting into.
Which always happens.
It always happens.
It's inevitable that the tangents will occur.
To get started, why don't we make things happy? We're going with some blends this week.
We're getting high end.
We're getting fancy here, friends.
I mean, with some of the stuff that's on the table, it's fitting.
True.
It's fitting because we've got some heavy hitters this week.
We can't be drinking swill. For me.
Thank you, thank you. Always the gentleman.
Pouring myself first, of course. Got to make sure that I get more than you do.
As long as it happens. I'm not going to be fussy about the order of things.
All right.
So.
Anyways, cheers, everybody. Cheers, Robert. Cheers, friends.
Everybody out there.
Thanks for joining.
Good to see you as always.
All right. All right, actually, why don't we go to people's questions that...
Brad is critiquing your porn.
That's not a critique. That is a.
I think
exactly. That's a compliment. Exactly. All right. So where do you want to start, Rob? I mean, we got a lot of different directions we can go to here.
Why don't we start with what is that? Baccarat glasses too.
We're not messing around, people. Come on. What
These are company glasses.
I go everywhere with these glasses. All right. Let's see, where are we going to go?
I was going to say, why don't we start with the colors?
Actually, you know what? Why don't we start with some of like not to totally overrule you, but to totally overrule you.
Well, I mean, let's
talk about some of like the more like big kind of concept questions that we got, more about like the health of the watch market right now, 2023 versus 2024, where things are, so in the chat.
We just hit, somebody said, is the watch market down?
Is the watch market down? So why don't you go ahead? You give your opinion. I'll chime in as we go.
Yeah, these are questions that we field pretty much every day. People are asking us about health of the market and where we think it's going. If right now, I actually think we're pretty stable.
Yep.
I feel like the roller coaster ride has leveled off, and we're coming into where things feel a lot more comfortable. I don't think we need to be quite as, like for a while there, you had to check almost every hour prices on certain watches because things moved so quickly and it was insane. And now it's a lot more comfortable. It's a lot more stable. Things are not quite as volatile.
Yeah.
For 99% of the watches.
Agreed.
Obviously, there's still going to be limited editions and crazy things that will change a lot.
Sure.
But I think pretty much most of what we're doing, thinking about the brands that we sell, it's stable, and I think it has stabilized in a good place.
Yeah, so I think we've talked about it before, but the market of 2020, through 2022 into 2023, it was a really like perfect storm of factors that led to these crazy increases in prices that we saw. So obviously everybody knows from COVID, you had production constraints. You had people stuck at home that they couldn't spend their money on things. They couldn't travel. They couldn't eat out. So, everybody was shopping online, and watches, were already kind of, building in, the kind of the zeitgeist or, the public just perception. Watch.
$5 word there.
Thank you, Robert. I'm starting out strong here tonight.
It's because we haven't gotten that deep in these
Exactly,
classes
exactly.
yet.
But anyway, so, watches were really kind of gaining in popularity anyways before the pandemic. And then we hit a situation, like we said, where people were just stuck. They couldn't spend money on other things, and watches were one of the things that people really spent money on. So that combined with, the constraints on production,
extra cash,
it led to
and
this
that monster that is social media.
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
that's a big part of why the watch hobby exploded in the way that it did, because people were able to participate and feel like they were part of the community without leaving their house.
Right. So anyways, it led to this kind of crazy bubble in values and in prices for watches on the secondary market. And obviously, we all kind of rode that up together. And then now, over the past year, maybe a little bit more at this point, prices have really started to kind of moderate, and they've come down to a place where it feels like, kind of like Rob was saying, it's more sustainable, and it's at a place where it feels like we would have gone if the pandemic had not happened. We're back to pre-pandemic levels.
Creeping up slow and steady, this is kind of where we would have ended up. And
so
then,
if you look at it if you're just looking at 12 to 14 months, you could easily say, oh my God, the watch market is cratered, values are down, what do I do? But to be honest, we're really just back to where we were beforehand, where we would have been if the pandemic had never happened. And this, not to sound like a cynical, watch retailer or whatever, but honestly, now is an incredible time to be buying watches. There's so many values out there, and there's so many pieces that, even 6 months ago, 5 months ago, were just unobtainable price level, or even just from a supply standpoint, that are now, they're available, and you can get them at a reasonable price.
I think that there's an interesting phenomenon where there's people who are very new to the hobby.
Yeah.
And who look at the market currently and they say, man, everything is so low, everything has lost all its value. But it's like they forget that subs used to be a discount watch.
Exactly.
You would buy a sub on the secondary market, it was a discount watch. You would buy a GMT on the secondary market, a Nautilus, a Royal Oak. All of these things were under retail on the secondary market. Now we're dealing with stuff that's over retail. We're dealing with a lot of watches that sell kind of right at that original retail. And we forget that actually where we're at right now, I think watches are retaining more value than they used to, and I think that the brands have tightened up their production, and a lot of them are tightening up their catalogs, and I think ultimately that's going to be better for the collector and the enthusiast, because it's going to help their collection retain that value and not be like, oh man, there's a million of these on the market, so it's worth a quarter of what you paid.
Definitely much better for long-term value retention.
Exactly.
So PC Bosque, sorry, we're trying, asking, so why is it so hard to buy a brand new Rolex from the store? And that is more just Rolex traditionally has just very tightly controlled its flow of inventory. It's almost like a De Beers diamond situation where this company they know that they have a super desirable, super successful product. Rolex is, I think, alongside or above Coca-Cola at this point. They're the most well-known brand in the globe,
and
on the
very
globe,
high
in the
level
world.
of trust.
And a very high level of trust, exactly.
Very high level of trust.
Rolex just really controls the flow of their inventory, and they're never going to make it. Rolex makes a lot of watches. They make 1 million watches a year. They're never going to create a situation where they're going to dilute their own brand. They're going to dilute the value of their pieces.
They've gotten even more strict in how they're controlling that output, because the ADs are dying left and right. Rolex is pulling those contracts because everything is going boutique only. And so we're seeing that aspect where in Boston there used to be 4 or 5 points of sale for Rolex. Now there's 2.
There were at least 4,
Yeah, now you have just the boutique and you have Tourneau Bucherer. And so watches like this, moving into these colored OPs, which is not, I think we're upside down.
We are upside down.
Can we
David,
fix that?
Can we flip that?
Otherwise I can show them
Keep
upside
talking,
down.
you're good.
That's fine. Hey, there we go. Watches like these that are considered kind of a base level watch from Rolex, right? The price point of these is like $6,000 or something like that.
The new retail is
but
$6,500 or something.
You can't get this. It's just not available. You can maybe get the silver, or you can maybe get the the dark blue.
You can, yeah.
Which is more of a standard color. But in terms of getting like the green, or this is still available in the 36, that turquoise blue.
Or like the Celebration that we just saw, like it's just, you can't get them.
Yeah, they just don't, they don't exist. And that's kind of the genius of Rolex, is taking a watch that's so very simple and then making it completely unavailable.
Yeah.
You know, which is par for the course for the luxury market.
Of course.
You think about the Birkin bag.
Sure.
You think about, you know, all of these kinds of items that on their own are maybe not so remarkable, but owning them and being able to obtain them has its status in and of itself.
Right. Jake Bookspan, yes, good eyes. We are going to talk about the that AP that you see, you know, lurking on the corner of the desk right now. Don't worry, we'll get to that one. Actually, you know what? Why don't we move into that now, Rob? So let me find the question that kind of pertained to that. It was a Grand Comp question.
I think it was just, let's see some Grand Comps.
Phil, Rob,
right?
Phil, I need you to Phil, vamp for me.
I think it was somebody
Hold
was
on,
just
I
asking.
want to find the exact question because I want to give people credit for, you know, the questions that they asked us. We really,
That's
honestly,
a good idea.
honestly, you guys, we really
That's a good
appreciate you
idea.
guys coming through and interacting and giving us, you know, feedback and everything.
Actually,
So hold
let's
on
bury
one
the
second.
lead. I'm going to come back
Okay.
to that. I'm going to
Okay.
make people wait, but let's grab a couple of the other high complications that I have here that I think are kind of
Go
interesting.
for it. Hold on, I'm getting there. All right. Yeah, the question. So Henry
Show
Lee.
some watches. All right, we're doing it. We're doing it. We're here.
Henry Lee asked, talk about grand complications, tourbillon, minute repeater, Retch Ponte, etc. Just wants to see some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So,
So I don't have a Rattrapant with us. Maybe we should grab.
that's
do
okay.
we have a split?
Let's rock the.
But I thought I'd start here. One of the nicest places to start, which is a Patek 3970. And these watches, the Perpetual Calendar Chronograph, are listed on Patek's website under the Grand Complication heading of their website. But there are people who will debate it and who will say that a Grand Complication has to have 3 levels of complication or something like that for it to be grand. I think Grand Comp, you know, when you get to this level, I think that something like a Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar Chronograph, which, you know, they own that space, in my opinion.
Yep.
That's a Grand Comp.
That is their
that is a
signature
Grand
piece.
Comp.
Yeah.
This is an older one. This is from the 90s, I think.
I'm gonna pull up the details
Because this
right
is
now.
a solid case back. This one,
This is a gorgeous-
unfortunately, is sold.
Yeah.
But some
Try and show off the patina.
stunning
Yeah.
patina on this.
Gorgeous.
I'm gonna try
Which
and
you
show you.
never see on these.
And this,
on
I
these.
believe, is a 36,
Yeah, it is.
right?
Yeah, this was 1988 actually. this one,
88?
Yeah.
35-year-old watch.
Yeah, that's a gorgeous piece, man.
Look at
I
that.
Mean,
I mean,
it wears so
I
beautifully.
love the size of these. I like the thickness. Some people are like, it's too kind of short and stocky, but I love it. I think it's so charming. I love the pump pushers. I think, to me, there's more character there than the square pushers. And there's some of these in white metal with the yellow
I was gonna
moon, which
say.
is also like a stunner.
Yeah, I mean, when I think of Patek Grand Comps, you know, the watch that I imagine in my brain is the 3970. Like, it's such an iconic design, you know, from the brand. Yeah, I love it.
Not too thick. I agree, Cosmo Patek. It's definitely not too thick. So then we move to a different level of grand complication. And we have a minute repeater. This is about to be listed on our website. This is the 5078, right?
So Grand Few enamel dial, gorgeous painted Roman numerals. We just posted. If you haven't seen it, go to our Instagram or go to our YouTube, and you'll see a nice video showing this. You know, close up, some really incredible audio of the chime. We'll try and play it now for you guys. You know, hold it up to a mic or something. So
yeah, we can do that.
It is absolutely amazing. I don't know if I've honestly ever heard a minute repeater that sounds better than this.
No, this and you know, a lot of people will often say, like, it is a time-only watch. Why is this so crazy expensive? Because the jump, even from the Perpetual Calendar chronographs, moving into something like this is a big jump.
Huge jump.
At retail and on the secondary market. It gets really big. So
I love this piece though because it doesn't scream. It doesn't, like, there's nothing to let you know that it is as incredible a piece. I did see that. Incredible a piece as it is. It's just that very subtle slide on the 9 o'clock side of the case. And like, if you didn't know, if you were walking down the street and if you weren't familiar with this specific piece, you would have no idea what it is. It looks just like a very simple time-only Calatrava style piece. But yeah, chime this real quick.
It's so resonant.
Yeah,
it's so resonant, and that's
super
the
crisp,
thing.
super
is
clear.
You're talking about gongs that are thin and small and tiny. I mean, it's like it fits inside this watch, and to get, as a musician, as somebody who's like studied this stuff and studied acoustics, like to do that, to me blows my mind.
Agreed.
And like looking at like tourbillons and all of the amazing things people do with watches and remontoires and all of that.
Yep.
This to me is like, how do they do that? How do they get that level of resonance and volume out of a piece of metal that's like, not even a gram?
Right.
What do you think that chime weighs?
I have no
right?
idea.
It's like
it's nothing.
You'd lose it if you dropped it on the floor, and yet they get sound out of it like that. It's remarkable.
KA timepieces, yes, that's a Patek 5078. It's just an incredible piece. I was going to say something and now I forget what
Here, put it back on the close-up so that he can...
show that guy off
real quick. He can take a quick look.
I mean, I really think,
the sleeper.
For me, when it comes to a complication, like you said, there's so much out there between tourbillons, remontoires, all this crazy stuff. A repeater is just like top of the heap for me. If money was no object and I was looking to just totally blow it, just blow it all out, like... I'm going Patek minute repeater.
So it's funny. One of the reasons I grabbed this is one of the questions we got, and we need to hit some of these.
I know we will. Well, I have a ton here. We'll go back. Don't worry.
One of the questions we got asked was, what one watch would make you sell everything? And this would be a really strong contender.
I'd be really short if I sold everything. I need to. I need to drop a kidney or I need to move a kidney or two on the black market.
Maybe that's everything. Maybe that's part of what you sell.
There you
plasma.
Go. There you go. Exactly.
All of that stuff. Fluids and everything. But yeah, if you can hear it, you can't afford it, as Albert says. It's just a stunner. And it's one of those watches you'd wear this and nobody would know unless they knew.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, amazing. I want to just before we move on, so
let's hit some of these.
Yeah, hold on. I'm doing it. God damn it, man.
But do it now.
You love to direct me.
Faster.
I'm like trying to say things and he's like, "Are you doing it? Are you doing it?" I wanted to ask, so Drayub, can you give me a little clarification? What do you mean? Can you just like give me an example of what you're referring to? Because I think I know.
The shareholder question?
The shareholder question. Just give us a little bit more context because I'd love to talk about that for sure.
You know what I think is kind of interesting in regards to that is I don't think within the watch industry, I don't feel like there's as much that kind of like, oh, well, they own the brand and they have a stake in it and things like that. Like maybe the Watchbox Debatoon thing or something like that. Like, is there conflict of interest kind of things and stuff like that? I wonder if that's where he's going.
My take was what when I read his question, what I was thinking he meant was, can shareholders can they basically implement cost cutting or reduce quality in order to try and boost profits? But whatever, we'll see what he says.
I didn't read it that way. Interesting.
Let's see what else. Let me see. 3939. It's a personal grail. That's solid. I agree.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
That's a small split or repeater.
That is a split. That's the very small split with the
split,
Breguet hands, Breguet numerals. I think it's an enamel dial as well.
Time.
Incredible piece. I think we've only seen maybe 2 of those ever. Let's see. All right. Why don't we move on for other things? So asking questions about. So someone asking, what do we think about Ming watches? It's not, honestly, I've never even handled one. I
handled one. And I think at the retail price point where they get sold, from the, as new to the consumer, I think it's a good value at that price point. Like it is a good watch. It's well made. There's quality there. Some of the secondary market values to me feel like it's a little too high for what it is.
Yep.
It's Yeah, it's a good watch. It's not something that we tend to work with here at the store because we try to focus on the things that we know work for our customer base. Because every watch dealer kind of has a different market and a different customer base that works well. You know, guys who specialize in vintage, guys who specialize in the real crazy independents, things like that.
Right.
And so we kind of stay in our lane with a lot of that stuff. But yeah, nice watches.
A couple people have asked things multiple times, so I want to. So going back, so Mariah
Cool.
1195 or 950. Why do you think Blancpain pieces do so poorly on the secondary market? And
like-
I actually
Correct.
I kind of disagree with the premise of that question. I don't think they do poorly on the secondary market. I think they're, really honestly anything on this table except for, a few of these pieces,
Mhm.
they take a hit on the secondary market as opposed to what the MSRP is. There are very few watches in a normal market, kind of like we talked about after the whole COVID bubble, that are still selling for huge premiums over.
That's
ahead.
under.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
Like
this
a
is
platinum
definitely
Patek
under.
with a unique complication is under. I believe that
This is
Earthworks
under.
are under, which is also kind of crazy.
Platinum cloche is under.
Wow, no kidding.
I believe the Tank Normal the Platinum Tank Normal is definitely under.
Wow.
This, I don't even know what the MSRP is
No,
on that.
MSRP on the Blancpains here was
Yeah.
16.
So I don't know if you guys heard. So Albert, owner of the company, is hanging out over here, and he mentioned. So Albert's a huge Blancpain fan, has been for a long time. Had some like stunning Blancpain pieces, tourbillons, prototype pieces, really really insane stuff. And one thing that he said is that Blancpain, their marketing is not great. They it's kind of another one of those brands that is, it's underneath this larger umbrella. It's part of a larger group, and it doesn't necessarily get the attention that some of the other brands in that same stable get. It just doesn't get the resources, and it's more of it's honestly more of a connoisseur's brand. It's you need to really be excited about in the know and excited about specific design that Blancpain is known for.
Why don't you go, because we actually have two really interesting ones here. One of which is probably under the retail, though the retail was from a while ago, so I don't know. And one of which that's over retail.
I'm gonna pull up details on both these, Rob. Can you give me the numbers real quick?
Yes. So the chrono is 51762, and that is a 2185, right?
I'm pulling it up right now. Let me see. Yeah, 2185 rose gold. This is not quite available yet. It'll be hitting the website soon.
Flyback chronograph in a 38 millimeter case.
Yep.
Ooh, and this one has the display back because it's in gold. The steel ones generally have a solid case back unless it's a special edition, and then the gold ones, the white gold and the rose, tend to have the display backs. This, to me, is one of the most undervalued watches in the store. I
agree.
absolutely adore these.
I mean, I think Blancpain flyback chronos in general are overlooked and undervalued. I'm trying to see if I can find
Look at that.
a more recent
Perfect size,
MSRP, but
military dial, and the rose gold black is a stunner.
rose gold black is my favorite, to be honest.
Oh.
I really, because we've had yellow gold black, we've had the steel white dial, we've had all different variant. We have probably had every variant.
For an automatic flyback chronograph, this is crazy thin.
It's 12 mil.
So thin. Beautiful architecture on the case.
David.
FPGA, right. FPGA chronograph movement, which is now manufactured Blancpain. You've got screw down pushers, you've got a screw down crown, so you have like decent water resistance here. Flyback chronograph. There's even a date at 6 o'clock that is so well integrated you can't even see it. In the good way. Not like you can't read it, because you can read it, but it actually flows with the design, and it works in such a good way. Killer watch, and like definitely under retail on the current secondary market.
I mean, the retail that I could find was something like $18K for when it was new. I don't have anything more recent than a few years ago on that. But I mean, we sell them in like the 12, 13, 14 range, something like that.
Yeah.
If that.
If they were
a lot of
making
times
this today,
less.
this watch is probably what, 20 years old.
Yeah. That's
Um,
probably 15 years old.
If they were making this today, this would be a $30,000
Yep,
watch.
definitely. I was gonna say it'd be like a 28, 29K
Yeah.
watch, probably, maybe even over 30, given MSRPs right now.
Then we move to the 50 Fathoms, which of course is the sport stalwart of Blancpain.
Some say the first dive watch, just before
Just before
Rolex introduced this up.
53, 52, something
54,
like that.
1954.
54.
Yep.
I knew it was in there somewhere. And this one is the mil-spec tribute that they did. And in this case, this is the Hodinkee version.
Yep.
They made 500 of these. They don't come around that often. These dried up. When they first came out, everybody bought one and flipped one.
Yep.
And so they were all on the market. Prices kind of depressed, and, they did that. Then everybody who wanted one, I think, got one.
Agreed. Yeah.
And they stabilized, they normalized, and now they're hard to come by. We don't see them anywhere near as often as we used to.
And kind of back to that question about, Blancpain not doing well on the secondary, this piece retail was 14.4. We have it currently listed for 25.9. So, again, really it depends on the model. It's tough to say just, a blanket statement that Blancpain does not do well in the secondary market. There are plenty of pieces that still do very well. And this is one of them. It's just a interesting limited piece that has those really classic vintage design elements like that water, that moisture indicator.
Well, but they also, when they did this Hodinkee one, they gave everybody what they wanted.
Yes,
they
small
got
size.
rid of the date. They went to the old school brush finish on the case, and they got rid of the Blancpain that exists on the 9 o'clock side of the case, which everybody does complain about that. I think it's actually much more subtle than most people think. This one has it.
Yeah, it
This
doesn't
one
bother me
has
at
the
all.
Blancpain engraved on the side of the
You
case.
never see that.
Yeah, I mean, like, if I'm wearing this watch, you don't see it.
No,
you
who
don't see
cares?
it. I'd have to do some crazy contortions, and even then, you still can't see it. So it's really a moot point in my opinion. Like, who cares? But they got rid of that, and everybody lost their mind and was like, "Whoa, it's the best one!" And it is. It's very good. The 40 mil size is the winner. That's the key to success.
38, wasn't it?
No, this is a 40.
Oh.
The Barracuda and the No-Rabs are all 40s, and they're perfect. A lot of people have put these on the bracelet, that X71 bracelet.
I do like that, yeah.
And it looks so good. Such high-quality
piece.
manufacturing,
Super
though.
cool piece.
It's got a display back. It looks lovely, as you can see.
All right. Next up, we're going to move to another question. So the gentleman's driver asked for up-and-coming independents. And again, kind of going back to the Ming discussion, up-and-coming independents, just by nature of our business, it's not really, it's not really what we do. We really deal with more established brands. We just sold our first Chopik. We sold the Antarctique Rattrapante, the ice style one.
And I think we just got
we just got another
a nice Antarctique with like that light blue dial coming in.
So that was obviously a huge kind of hyped brand over the past 2 years. We're just dipping. So, and like prime example, we're just dipping our toe into that that brand. So it's kind of hard for us to talk about up and coming independents, but we can talk about some independents that up and came already. They're here, they're not going anywhere. And we grabbed a few that we think kind of fit that category.
I think this is a very interesting one because we
There you
don't.
go.
This is only like the third watch we've seen.
I'm gonna look. I
From
think
Lang & Haney?
we've had a few.
Not a brand that we're super familiar with.
It's
And
our third
this
one, yeah.
Yeah, this is the Georg,
Yep.
right?
And this one is really all about, there you go, show off
That.
the movement.
I was getting there.
Incredible piece. And honestly, it's clear that this is a German brand. It just has that architecture, that kind of sensibility, that
Everything in its place.
everything in its place. It's all very organized. It really is a beautiful movement.
Oh, feels good, actually.
It
It's
winds
got a
really
nice
nicely.
kind of tactile situation there.
I cannot stand that third lug in the center. That drives me
That's
completely
the
insane.
one thing I'd want to change too. I don't need the third leg on there.
Right.
If they did it as a standard lug, it'd be really good.
It would.
The case is very interesting, and I give them a lot of credit in doing something that feels unique. Right, because this isn't your standard tank case. There's a lot of kind of facets and details. You've got, oh, lost focus, sorry. You've got some interesting kind of, I don't know, what would you call that? Like that ribbing on the edge there, where they've done almost like a Breguet style
coin edge a little bit.
It's not.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, you have all these kind of crazy design elements from
flow of the
almost
lugs,
from almost like cabaret-esque to Breguet,
Yeah.
That, like you said,
But then
that
very
texture.
old school pocket watchy on the front and the
Yes.
back, right?
Yep.
Like that dial and that handset is like, that looks like a pocket watch from 100 years ago,
Yeah.
which is cool, but
It
it's
is very
square.
cool.
And then that's like old school pocket watch, brass plates with the, with the wheels bolted on with blued screws,
those
and
bridges.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
the bridge style and stuff.
Pretty
So,
impressive.
very cool, super high quality. I really like it.
My thing is, and I think it's just it's a result of me not being far enough along in my collecting journey, I would say, that this, when I look at, we're listing this, I believe, for like 55, 56K. I think retail on these is somewhere in the upper 60s.
Wow, is it really that high?
Yeah, I think it's like 66, 67K. And when I look at this and I think, okay, this is going to cost me $55,000, $56,000, my mind and where I'm at just with my collection, I want to spend that like 8 different ways before I would get to a Langenhain Georg. And that's not to say that it's not an incredible piece, and it doesn't, like, I'm sure there are people who this is, the be all and end all for, and like, that's awesome. But I don't know, I just have a hard time with thinking that's how I'm going to spend my money.
With a time-only watch at that price point. And I know this is probably not a popular opinion, because there are so many really good time-only watches that do hit 50, 60, 70,000. Speaking of an independent who has up and stayed up, really, because I mean, like, if I think of where we used to sell these watches and where we sell them now, this is probably one of the best examples of a time-only watch that has achieved a truly tremendous price point. Obviously, nothing rivals the simplicity in terms of that. I think that's the king of the time-only watch for the most money. But the Journe Chronometer Blue, this was designed. I hate the term entry level. I really don't like to use that, but I think that's kind of where he was going when this first came out, because retail was under 20K or something like that.
I mean, it's crazy to think, like, wouldn't you say that just a standard CS and like platinum or gold would be more entry level than a tantalum cased?
But it was more expensive.
I know, but it just doesn't.
More expensive.
But I mean, leave it to
Journe.
Leave it to Journe to make a piece that his cheapest piece not be technically the entry level piece. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's really tough to describe this piece.
Incredible though, just absolutely gorgeous.
And it's a work of art.
Yeah.
It's really amazing, and I think he brought a lot to the table, both in terms of the movement manufacturing, the case, the dial. Like, everything was really quite remarkable. We've got another great Journe here, which is a 38 millimeter brass movement Reserve de Marche. This to me is like the archetype of Journe.
Agreed.
This one, and then that platinum with the salmon dial Octaloon would be my favorite 2 Journes in the shop. Really? Oh yeah, easily.
The platinum Octaloon salmon dial, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool piece.
Yeah. That's a 40 mil, which I'd love it if it was 38, but that salmon platinum Octaloon, we've seen that watch twice. That is it. We've been running that database since 2008. Right. We've seen it twice. But this, size-wise, is great. The rose gold gray is really, really pretty. And again, the thing that amazes me the most about Journe is he came into a 200-year-old industry and right from the start developed a design language that was so unique and so specific to his brand, you wouldn't mistake it for anything else.
Of course not.
You wouldn't be like, oh, is that a Longa? Is that a Patek? Is that whatever? Like, it's a Journe, and you know it, which to me is amazing, because I wouldn't know how to do that.
Hell no. I mean, well, again, so somebody else who's kind of done something totally different than how anybody else has done, grab that Gronefeld right now. So I think we've even talked about this before. But the 1941. So I believe this is steel, right? This one.
This one is steel.
Steel. Yeah. But so steel case and stainless steel movement, which nobody does, and it's a gorgeous movement. You have that remontoire over at 9 o'clock. Just absolutely incredible piece. Another one that really no one else is doing. Journe, with the Optimum does, a remontoire.
That's the business right there.
Stainless steel movement. Look at that. And the finishing on it is amazing.
Would you consider a remontoire a grand complication?
So, no. And that doesn't even, I can't even justify.
I don't know.
I know.
What are you people doing out there? This should be sold.
It really should.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're
but
right.
I'm actually really frustrated about that.
I bought this from a great client.
Oh, well, there's the problem.
Jesus.
No,
I love this variant as well. The black dial with the orange. It's just, you don't see it. I mean, obviously, Gronefeld only made a very small number of each of the different.
See, I'll look on the back.
Each of the different metals.
What the number is, because he puts it on the
Yeah,
caliber.
didn't they make 18? I think. I want to say it was like 18 of each.
Well, he had set it to like 188 calibers or something
right,
like that.
Right, but then it was divided up between metal and dial
Right,
combinations.
and then the Cari dials and stuff.
Yeah,
and that was it, though. When they hit that, I can't find it. And
okay, so New York City Watch Dude asking, can you explain what the remontoire does? And so basically, it's just a way to regulate the power delivery from the mainspring to the movement. So I believe this has an 8-second remontoire.
That's right.
So and actually, David, can you go to the close-up and Rob can show, actually, I don't even know if this is wound, but we'll wind it and show it in action.
Sorry, I was taking a sip.
Yeah, God damn it, man. Just, you lush.
Slave driver.
Lush. Anyway, so if you look at this, at the remontoire at 9 o'clock, and we'll try and zoom in for you, so you'll see hopefully I'll see it in a second. So every 8 seconds, you'll see that wheel just kind of go, just move a little bit. And what it is doing, there you go. So it just did it. And what that is doing is that is releasing power to the movement. And what it does is it means that the movement gets a consistent amount of power no matter where it is in the power reserve. So you could have, I don't know what the power reserve on this piece, but you could have 40.
You see it kind of click
You could
over.
have 40 hours left, or you could have 30 minutes left, and it's going to deliver the same amount of power to the movement as it's just consistency. So that's again, it's like it's one of those kind of rare, I don't know. You just not many watchmakers do it. I think Journe is the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head.
Longa with the jumping seconds.
Oh, with the jumping seconds. You're right.
Well, they use remontoires a couple different ways. So they have it in the jumping seconds, and they have it in the Zeitwerk.
I was saying the Zeitwerk they do as well.
But the Zeitwerk, you don't
that's a different.
See it.
Yes, I was going to say that's a different application.
In the jumping seconds, you see it because it's ticking that hand once per second. The Zeitwerk is an interesting case because you've got those enormous wheels that are moving for the time, because you've got 2 for the hour, 2 for the minute. And when it needs to throw those, it requires a massive amount of power. But if you ran that power through the escapement the whole time, you'd shred it.
Right, exactly.
So they put a remontoire there that only goes once a minute. And what it does is it's like holding the power back that whole time. Then it gets to 58, 59 seconds, and bang, it releases it, and it throws those heavy wheels.
Right.
And then it re-engages. I feel like our watchmaker.
I would say you feel like you got a little Dan Lin going on right now with
our watchmaker always describes
arm
with the hand
motions
gestures.
But anyway, so yeah.
But it holds it back, so it's pretty cool.
So Journe obviously up and already came. Gronefeld, it's here. It's not going anywhere. Another one, so like Romain Gautier, I feel, is another one that recently really kind of up and is here, with the C, formerly known as the Continuum, all that. And then you have another one in your hands.
And actually, I'm going to quickly hit Horological Habitat here, since we're talking about independence. He said, what is the most wearable MB&F in your opinion? The LM101.
The LM101, I think you're right.
Without
honestly.
a doubt. Traditional in shape.
You know what though? You know what's easy to honestly the
Bulldog.
The Bulldog is super easy to wear too. It's easy to wear on the wrist. It's comfortable. It's ridiculous, and you'll stand out.
And it's going to call a lot of
cuff.
attention to it.
Of
and
course.
that's what I meant about the LM101 being kind of traditional, both in size and shape.
But
the Bulldog works. Oh yeah,
exactly.
I'd wear it.
And for if I'm going crazy, if I'm going art piece, if I'm going independent, I want it to be crazy and different, and I don't want it to just be another round watch with
Right.
3 hands that tells the time. Give me
Right.
something, give me some fireworks.
I
like-
also saw somewhere back there, I hope you're still on, asking for our opinion on Jacob & Co.
Yes.
I have sold one Jacob & Co.
Same.
We sold a astronomic,
yeah.
the crazy one that everybody thinks of when they think of it.
Yep.
And it's a cool watch. It's some pretty amazing watchmaking. It's
So for me, it was less. The watchmaking was less impressive than the actual construction, and it felt more like a jewel. It felt. I mean, of course, Jacob & Co. is a jeweler, and it felt more like a piece of jewelry.
yes.
And the way that the planets were set and
Right.
they rotated, it didn't feel the actual watchmaking when we actually sat there and looked at, okay, what is the
But
horological
doesn't
watchmaking
all
that's
of
happening?
that come into the watchmaking, right? Like, isn't that all part of the watchmaking process? Because, like, if we look at a gem set Rolex and we're like, holy cow, the
Yeah.
settings on this Rolex are so perfect.
Yeah.
That's part of the watchmaking process, even though that's technically making jewelry. So to me, crafting those little planets and the dial and all of that cool stuff, that's also part of that.
Yeah. Where were
So
we
that
going?
watch
Oh,
I
Urwerk.
liked.
We're going to
That
Urwerk.
watch
Yeah, yeah.
I did like that watch.
Talk about the Urwerk.
Ferrier.
I-
Do you want to hit that?
Sure.
We didn't bring one.
We didn't bring up Ferrier.
We could have.
I love Laurent Ferrier, and this is gonna. So honestly, so now
Oh
to
man,
go
we got a lot of
to go back
people
on
asking stuff.
to go back on what I just said about I want independence to give me fireworks and craziness. Like I love the fact that Laurent Ferrier makes a gorgeous, elegant, simple timepiece with super advanced, interesting watchmaking. You know, their dry escapement, all of these, the micro rotor movements, all these interesting things. But it's just at the end of the day, it's just a beautiful watch that is comfortable on my wrist, that looks elegant, that looks just kind of normal. But I don't know. There's something about them that I really, really appreciate.
To me, the designs are slick.
Yeah.
Like they're so polished.
Yes.
And they're so like perfect
Yes.
within what he's doing. And I think that is a different level of things. Like even the classic Origin. I really like the classic
I
Origin.
really think
would
you
wear
can
that
can
watch.
easily see the influence of Patek
Oh yeah.
on his design. How he engineers a movement, just the elegance of the piece. It's very clear what
Yeah.
what the heritage of or honestly what his influences are, and well known. You used to work for Patek. So all right, jump back to the Urwerk.
Somebody asked opinion on Speaky Marin or Speak Marin.
Speak Marin.
That's pretty easy because I've only handled one of them, and it was like 4 or 5 years ago. And
Oh, we
it
had a
was
few.
really.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was fine, but it didn't leave a strong impression on
Same.
me. Like there was nothing about it that I was like, "Wow, this is super cool."
Yeah.
Unlike the watch that I have in my hands right now. This is super cool because it's purple.
There's a lot more going on than just the purpleness of this purple watch. But yes, you're right, Robert. This is purple.
But it's fully purple. Like everything is purple.
And it's almost even hard.
The strap is not. The strap is black.
Strap is black.
But the case
That
is
is
purple.
a missed
The
opportunity. there.
rotor is purple. Like I love it. I love it. And this is a UR100,
Yep.
also called the Space Time.
The ultraviolet.
It is a very wearable Urwerk. Oh, fits. It fits.
I think we've played this game before with this
We
watch
did.
on camera.
Was it this one or was it,
It
the
was-
other one?
It may have been.
I thought it was
you're right. It was the white
collective
strap.
one,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
the white strap.
We had one on a white strap as well.
But to me, this is super cool. And this is kind of what you were talking about in terms of like, you want that independent watch to be completely different from
Yeah.
something else. So like if you owned this Blancpain
Mhm.
and you had these two sitting next to each other in the watch box, you'd have two very different watches that you'd wear for two very different occasions.
Right.
Or anything on this table. You could take anything on this
Sure.
table and put it next to this, and it's like, man, this
It's
would
a different
be unique.
experience. Well,
and
and
cool.
even just the way that it tells the time. So you have an orbital wandering.
Move
Orbital, right?
that around while you're talking.
Orbital satellite display with wandering hours. So, it also, I'm pretty sure this one, you can calculate the distance the Earth has traveled on its not rotation, I don't know, something about how far the Earth has traveled around the sun in a given period of time. So, if you're
Yeah,
ever
that's
wondering,
like, so there's these indicators here on the side, and I remember looking them up, and now it has something to do with the Earth's rotation and maybe the Does it have something to do with like the
It's
sidereal time or something
no.
like that?
It's the distance the Earth has traveled on its path around the sun.
Thoughts on HYT watches, water clocks?
That is a sore subject. In
We
EWC
plead the
right
fifth.
Now. Yeah.
We plead the fifth on HYT
We will not be
right
discussing
now.
that right now.
But work all the way, and I love the 103s. We talked about it last week. You can watch that stream on Instagram and YouTube if you missed it.
Yeah. I much prefer the
space time,
the ER100. And actually, so talking about last week's stream, somebody did ask how many watches do each of us have in our collections, and we both, I believe, have 5 watches right now. Correct? We talked about this last week.
I do. Yeah. With the Panerai now, I have 5.
Oh, Panerai!
I know, right?
So we both have 5. We both have 5. We both said that. We think 6 is the perfect number, but when we have 6, it'll probably be 7.
One of my very good clients actually reached out after that stream and said, you guys were talking about the size of the collection, but nobody said 132 is the ideal number, so he decided to make a trade. And that's why I say it is very cool to talk to people who craft a collection out of a handful of watches, people who craft a collection out of a lot, and people who have the most amazing collections. And his stuff is so varied. He's got super high-end Pateks. He's got Cartiers from the 70s that are gold-plated. He's got everything you can imagine, the entire gamut. And to me, that's the best part.
So we have 2
Sorry,
questions.
I'm tangentizing.
No, you're good. So Drayub said, "What watch?" I love this question, by the way. What watch would you wear inside out just to show off the movement? And immediately, well, that's an interesting.
We have one that goes both ways.
So my answer, like hands down, would be a Longa datograph. It's one of my favorite movements of all time. It's not the most complicated. It's not necessarily the finest crafted movement. It's incredibly well made. It's got so much depth.
Well, it's not finished, is what you're trying to say. No, it is finished.
It is finished, but it's not maybe it's not necessarily up to a crazy level. Albert is agreeing with me right now. The Longa datograph, if you haven't ever handled one, or you've never just kind of gotten lost in the movement, it's ridiculous. If I owned that watch, I would have a really hard time not wearing it upside down on my wrist, because it is a big case, it's a thick case, but it's all in service of that movement. It's got, again, so much depth.
And you'd pay the price.
I would
You'd pay the price of the thickness and the weight in order to have a datograph.
What would you go with?
That's really tough. Because I think about the movement on the 5370, the Patek split second, which actually we have one of those.
But that's a beautiful enamel dial, and you're going to look at the movement instead of the enamel dial.
So I like that movement. I think this Lang & Haney that we were looking at earlier is really remarkable. Yeah. That's really beautiful. But we have 2 watches here on the table that give you the best of both worlds.
It's true,
right? We didn't talk about wrong one. There we go. We didn't talk about this guy in terms of independence, because Moser is an independent brand, and I feel like actually I would make the case that Moser, maybe not currently up and coming, but they are definitely on the way up. Because if you think about them pre-Ed Milan, I'm not sure how you say it. My apologies, Mr. CEO of Moser. But he turned that company around, and he really focused their design language and everything, and he ran with it, and they're making some tremendous watches now.
And they've really pared down their offering to what works, what is different, what is unique, and what really, is... Yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. But
did you get distracted by the Grand Seiko question?
I did, actually.
So really quick before we do that, this is the Moser.
That's the
no.
That is the Endeavor.
It's not an Endeavor. I can't remember the name of this one.
Hold on, it's a cylindrical.
It starts with a P.
It's a Pioneer.
Pioneer, thank you. Pioneer cylindrical tourbillon. This, to me, is in that hyper modern. It almost reminds me of like an H.R. Geiger kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you know him, it has that kind of almost organic nature to the mechanics, which is so cool. I want to show you the depth of the Turby, because the Turby's this tall in there. It's huge. So cool. And you have their beautiful kind of fume dial, very simple, which is their thing, right? Just their name and the minute markers or hour markers, no minute markers.
I wish we had a UV light, because the lume on there, on the hands and on that small dial is stunning.
And this is big, but it fits.
Yeah.
It fits really well. It hugs the wrist really well. This one happens to be on a bracelet, which is very cool if you're into bracelets.
We've sold the strap version as well, and both. I mean, it's really
But
all,
there
it's,
you go.
it's all about
Movement
that
to
turb.
stare at,
Yeah.
and you can tell what time it is.
Yep.
And then if you wanted to go the old school version of that, we have the Breguet La Tradition.
This is the 7097, I believe, right?
So this is the bigger one.
Yeah.
This is the 40-some millimeter version of this. And this, I didn't realize this until one of my colleagues told me, but this is based on an old school pocket
It
watch.
is.
And
I
if
told you this.
No.
We had this conversation on camera last week.
Yeah, but I knew it. I
Oh,
knew
you
it
are
last
such-
week.
You're such a
I'm
jerk.
talking about like Tony back in the day
Okay,
told me
all right,
that
all
this
right.
was based on an old school pocket watch.
Okay.
And if you,
All
oh
right.
wow,
You can hear it.
sounds
Yeah.
so good. But he made a pocket watch that had this style where he actually had the balance wheel on the outside like that, and you can really see everything. I mean, you can see that mainspring barrel in the middle, and as it flows through that running train into the escapement, power reserve on the side, and they do a lot of different combinations.
I was going to say, if you like this kind of aesthetic, go onto our website, go to the Breguet page. We have a lot of different traditions right now and a lot of different interesting configurations, you know, all with this obvious, you know,
Yep.
The model family, you know, within that family, but you know, we have a retrograde date, we have an automatic, we have, you know, a bunch of different really cool
This would be my
tweaks.
skeleton watch.
Okay.
If I wanted a skeleton of sorts, I wouldn't go for the
full
traditional like skeletonized dial.
You don't
to
want to
me,
see, you don't want to see your wrist hair through the
this
through
is
the dial.
so much cooler because you still get that beautiful Breguet guilloche, you get the Romans, you get the Breguet hands, it's legible.
Yeah.
And then you also get all the cool stuff that's distracting to look at when you're bored in your business meetings. Like there it is, everything all in one package.
I really like this one too, the rose with rose. You know, you'll see
And the
them with
black.
but you'll see like the anthracite, you know, base plate, and you know a lot of different combinations. So this one's really cool.
Why could they
I'm a
have
big
done
fan.
better with their rose gold? Like you want it to be redder? I'm curious. Drayub. Drayub. Tell me what you mean. I'm curious.
All right, one other question that caught my eye, because of course it did. Cosmopack said, "Can you show the Cartier Normal? And what would you pick for a colored gold, rose or yellow, with an integrated bracelet?"
Did you see
So-
that on the table or
No, he saw it on
was
the
that
table, yeah,
something?
yeah.
Okay, or was that
So-
something you were asking about?
No. So this is interesting. So we have differing opinions on the
I'm
Normal.
sitting here. If you saw that, that's eagle-eyed. I like it.
I obviously well-established, huge Cartier fan.
You, Cartier?
I am a complete slut for the brand. I love almost everything that they do. And this, you know, is another, you know, entry into the Privé collection, you know, where they're, you know, similar to a lot of what other brands are doing. You know, they're introducing kind of or reintroducing the greatest hits from their past, you know, historical catalog. And this was last year's entry. So you had the Tank Normal, you had it in platinum, in rose, and I believe they made it in yellow as well.
I'm
And
trying to show this. You guys aren't going to get it. The crystal on this watch is bonkers.
And
it's so
mentioned,
good.
I mentioned that Rob and I have differing opinions on this piece, and you know, Rob loves it, and I like it, but my issue is that I know that this watch exists on a full platinum link bracelet. You know, an old school style, like Tetris block platinum bracelet. And if I had never seen the version of this watch on the bracelet, I would be losing my mind over this watch right now. But for the fact that I know that it exists on a bracelet, this is dead to me.
Okay, for context, this is my watch. This is a very dear watch to me. I will never ever sell this watch. You can see the correlation here. It should be quite apparent why this to me is phenomenal and why it should be on a strap. Though I would change the strap. I wouldn't put it on this one.
Oh my god,
Dude, if you want a bracelet, you buy a Rolex.
Wow, how simplistic of you, Robert.
Look at that, man. I mean, it's on trend with the whole like small Cartier thing, but it's not your Tank Louis shape. It's got a great, super subtle shape to the case. It's got this kind of vintagey faceted crystal. I love the metallic silver finish on the dial.
The case is not the issue here,
Ruby
Rob.
cabochon. You put this on like a vintagey thin, no pad, no stitch strap, like a textured calfskin or a suede.
Nah, you're wrong. It's okay.
I just don't want to pay for it. They're so expensive because
very
there's like
expensive.
4 of them out there.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
didn't make enough.
I mean, it's.
But
I
man alive,
love
I'd wear that.
what Cartier is doing with those kind
It's
of
so
with
good.
those Privé pieces, and actually go grab that cloche right there. I think we've talked about this many times before as well. You know, so this is, I believe this was what, 3 years ago that this one came out. 2 or 3, because either 2 or 3 years ago that the cloche came out. This was available in rose, platinum, and yellow gold again. And this is
the platinum.
This is the platinum with that ruby cabochon. Just like, who else is making a piece that is shaped like this? This is such an incredible piece, and I am obviously super. I'm biased. I own the 1991 yellow gold version of this watch. Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that watch. It's just like, I just think it's such a unique look. Nobody else is making anything like this. It's just weird. It's not round, and it's got such an elegant feel to it. I love this watch.
And cloche means?
Cloche means bell in French. This was actually designed, ding, 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 ding. and fun fact, this watch was designed in the 20s as a travel watch, so you could set it down on its side like that, as a travel clock, essentially, while you were traveling.
Yeah.
So
Ruby
super
cabochon
cool
in this
piece.
as well, which is the way they signify on the new Privets that it's platinum. And this actually has a really interesting kind of almost eggshell color to the dial, which is kind of cool because I don't feel like I've seen this on a lot of the modern Cartiers.
Yep.
So we've got like that nice eggshell against the blued hands with the black Romans, and I love the way they stretch and elongate the Romans as it goes around the corner, and then they kind of shrink down
if
here.
If you look at it,
that's design language,
right? But so you look at it, and the pivot is actually not in the center of the dial. It's skewed to the top half of the dial.
It is. Look at that.
And it's so cool. It's just such a unique thing. Again, nobody else is doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm in love with that piece. Okay, one more question. We have like 4 minutes left before we got to get out of here.
Let's rapid fire some of these. How many can we get done in 3 minutes?
So Siamamoto asked this question direct, so I want to make sure we get to this one. Do you think the scarcity on FP Journe is artificial? Absolutely not.
No, he makes like 800 watches
He makes
a year.
like 800 to 900 watches a year. Just look at the pieces that he makes, how complicated they are. They're all handmade. That is not artificial. That's not changing ever.
Rob is right.
Rob is wrong. That's okay, though. Cosmo Pack, I thought I liked you. It's okay.
Cartier style.
Next question. Let's see. Old ones or the new ones, pre or post Richemont? I prefer. Well, so it's interesting. I love vintage Cartier. I also really, really like what they're doing now over the past, like maybe what, 4 or 5 years.
Bringing back pieces like these has been, and
Correct.
the asymmetric and the
the asymmetric is
Cintre,
amazing.
right?
Yes.
They brought back so many good designs. To me, the Richemont affiliation, who cares?
Yeah, I agree.
It's a business decision that adds stability to the brand,
Yep.
right? Because it gives them more power within like the world of business to operate and be comfortable and confident. So like to me, same thing with Longa, same thing with Blancpain Breguet and the Swatch Association.
Even what Journe did with Chanel, like
Right,
just
selling 20% or whatever
exactly.
to Chanel. It's a business decision.
Okay,
It's fine.
we were doing rapid fire, but that's okay.
That's
Rob.
right.
You can keep talking for as long as you want. Somebody asked, ideal dress piece to round out a 5-piece collection sub 30K. Toss up between the Longa 1815 or the VC 1921 Historique. I'm going Vacheron. What
Both
you
are
going with?
really good.
They
no,
are.
1815. I owned an 1815 and I loved it.
Wrong again. That's okay.
No, and you
next
get
up,
such
next up.
the Longa in the 1815 is the movement in the Longa
Oh
1815
crap!
is better.
Jake Bookspan. Okay, so we're gonna end with the AP.
We lost.
So we forgot. Sorry.
that top
we-
camera.
we-
Let's get
we-
it back.
we
We'll
will
go a
hang-
minute over.
Yeah, we'll hang out a little longer to talk about this because this watch deserves a little bit more time.
Rose gold, Roger Dubuis Golden Square.
Robert, do not
Sweet.
get distracted.
Sweet.
We're talking about the AP. So, if
Me?
you
Distracted?
guys have not
Come now.
seen it on our website, if you're not familiar, this do we have the overhead
It's
again?
coming.
Okay.
It's coming
So,
back. We're waking that camera up.
This is the Pride of Argentina. This is a unique piece that AP made. This was to celebrate, I want to say I'm going to pull up the details right now because this one deserves the time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hold
So,
on.
we have the kitchen sink of watches. We have a perpetual calendar. We have a chronograph, a split-second chronograph, no less. So we do have a Rattrapant. We were wrong.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, forgot
Because
about that.
there's the button in the crown.
Yeah.
And if you notice the slider on the side of the case, then you know we also have a minute repeater here. This is a true grand complication. This has everything in it you could ever possibly want.
Yep. So
And it's platinum.
it's This one is
This
white
is
gold.
white
This is
gold.
white gold. It has a
It's-
platinum buckle, interestingly.
It sure feels like platinum.
Well,
It's,
look how big the case is. So,
this is all the watch.
so this was created to celebrate the 2010
Keep it there,
200th,
David.
200th anniversary of Argentina. The fun game. I wish we had more time to
Oh, no,
play.
go back.
But the original retail on this piece, anybody care to guess? $1.25 million. Just completely absurd piece. And actually, Rob, make sure you show off the case back. And so this has a hinged officer's case back as well. So you have.
Oh, what a shame. You don't get to see the movement. Oh, but
Oh, wait a
wait.
minute.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So completely insane piece, like Rob is saying. Whatever, name a complication, think of a complication. This watch has it. Just completely absurd. $1.25 million. I believe we're listing for $495. So if you've ever wanted a unique piece, AP Grand Comp that, just does everything you possibly could ever want it to do, guess what? Your ship just came in, and here's the watch.
I mean, this has what, like 10 hands on the front of
It's
it? Like,
crazy.
this is bananas.
Crazy.
And it's good looking.
It is good looking,
That
actually.
blue with the rose gold
Yeah.
against the white gold case, like super nice. You get the rose gold moon, which pops really well. This is bananas.
Crazy.
Monster.
Crazy
Monster,
piece.
monster.
Jake, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry we didn't spend more time talking about it. You did say you're going to come in and check it
And
out.
you know what?
So
I
you
totally
should.
forgot too when we were
Yeah.
doing the grand comps that we had the grand complication.
Yeah.
So much good stuff in the chat. We
Yeah.
missed a lot this week.
We're gonna do more.
but
We're gonna do more like this. This was fun, you guys. We love, again, like we said it last week. We love interacting. We love hearing what you guys want to talk about, answering questions,
Yeah.
talking about what you guys want to talk about.
That's why we
So-
get excited. Well, I get excited and I
you-
talk too much.
You? No, we didn't even hit, again, like we didn't even hit a lot of these questions. We didn't even talk about a lot of these watches. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We will be
Yeah.
back next week at the same time.
We will.
Maybe we'll do the same thing. Who knows? But
Normal is sold. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah,
gone.
gone already.
It hasn't shipped out yet, so we still had it here, but unfortunately it's gone.
Yeah.
90 minutes.
2 hours. I don't know if I've got that much in me, but anyways, guys, thanks again. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Have a great night.